skip on the pole shift. Everybody laughing. End of statement.
I laugh here too. I don't know. That's a really good question. The issue comes down to consciousness as we understand it. The planet is conscious, the universe is conscious, and it is at that universal consciousness level, for instance, that our bodies are created. We do not say this particular atom is air right next to our skin and this particular atom is part of our skin. That is done at a level that we could think of as templates through the universal consciousness field. Now, Buddha described the indivisible unit from his historical knowledge of it. He did not discover enlightenment, he merely experienced it, and that I need to speak about in a second. But he described these as kalapas, or the smallest indivisible unit, which really is not a unit of matter so much as it is the intersection of diverse forms of energy at various levels such that we perceive those energetic disturbances as solid matter. Because bear in mind, we are also made of energy. And thus our senses operate at a more gross level than the creation at the universal consciousness level of our bodies. And thus our minds and our senses trick us into thinking 3D world is material. So your statement is correct. I believe that the more people that become conscious of the underlying nature of reality, the less impact that reality will have on us. And in fact, this is one of the paths of proper training that one goes through if one reads the Science of Yoga or the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali. In the last or fourth book, I believe, he discusses the siddhis, which are these powers or abilities to manipulate reality based on this experiential understanding. Now, this is where things must separate. Let us examine the fact that many people, even going back to, say, 1978 with George Leonard's book, The Silent Pulse, understand the concept of the holonomy, which is to say that all of universe contains within any part of universe all knowledge of the rest of universe, and thus space is not particularly limiting, and we live in a giant holographic field, if you will. However, the intellectual understanding of such is not the same as the experiential understanding of such. And as people become more and more keyed into this, they have a tendency to choose one way or the other. That is to say, there are many scientists who understand the true nature of reality, but do not experience. Then there are many people like myself who are into weird and strange esoteric disciplines, and for the main are on the fringe of society, who both intellectually understand the nature of reality, although we don't necessarily discuss it, but we experience it. And in the experience of that, you get a certain level of power. So, for instance, in 2001, in January of that year, I had certain meditative breakthroughs that allowed me to understand reality a little bit better, and I was able to eliminate from my system a 20-year bout with a disease known as eczema, which is of a skin condition. This skin condition is theoretically not curable. They treat it, but it is known for not going away and forever scarring you. And I had had a 20-year history of it that I cured over the course of 30 days by altering a structure within my consciousness construct. I called it at the time smoothing out the curds in the yogurt, because it seemed as though that's what I was doing within that particular part of my brain, and the eczema went away. So that is an experiential understanding of it. We could go to someone who is a scientist who had an academic understanding of reality that also had eczema, and I doubt they would be able to get inside deep enough to cure it themselves, although our basis of knowledge is the same. Did that make sense? End of statement.
Yes, this makes a lot of sense. Here is Alexander again. I was the one who experienced this formula and write it on the paper, and it was, for me, it was consciousness related to space, related to time, is how you want to see it, equals 1 equals 0. And I experienced that now I get more freedom from this room time zone here to interconnect and to begin to get to go into power to change the things I want to change. And I ask you now, there is a special point or a special date in timeline where this is breaking totally true, that I can come to full power of it. And because I never loved about the thing before that I said I could change it because I want to change it, because I know that it's possible. But I also know that it is not possible right now at this second.
I understand the question.
From the view of here and now.
The issue for you as an individual will be work, insofar as my understanding. I don't think universe grants us power at all. If you wish to go that route, you must work on it and develop that power yourself. The timeline suggests that the 2012 date, anything from October 2011 through to 2013, is felt by the powers that be as being the point of maximum risk for them, which I believe relates from the condition of our solar system and where it is in universe. This is to say that if we're approaching some form of a nexus and awareness or increase of the consciousness field, you would probably not have to do anything at all and may still find that over the period of time from 2011 through 2013, you experienced this to a heightened degree. Whether you could control it or not is an individual destiny sort of thing. I am very old, and because the universe has treated me to many different experiences, I recognize that while I may develop power, I'm very uncertain as to my wisdom in the use of that power, so I have tendency to not go that route myself. And it does present risk both on a karmic level as well as a personal or physical level. So I am old. I have finally been wised up by universe, and I don't offer to help individuals anymore. I will respond if they ask, but the offer of help intrudes on their particular karmic process, and it also influences mine. And the ripples within the energetic fields become so entangled as to boggle what little bit of mind I have left. My personal approach, as I say, is to develop the tools and refine myself and allow universe to decide how and when it wants me to experience things. So those things that can be changed, even if you have the power to change them, might necessarily not be best if changed. End of statement.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And this leads me to the next question, that I experience lots of that time is flowing from the future to the past, and therefore it also makes sense this way for me. What do you think about the time originally flows from future to the past?
I don't feel. That is an academic understanding. Western society, everything from perhaps the Egyptians onward, suggest an understanding of time as a river, and we're standing on the riverbank and it flows past us, emanating from the future and falling into the past. Such is an erroneous view. There is only one moment. There is only one single point in universe. Space is an illusion, and time is an illusion as well. Time, for me, for my understanding, is not available for the future. That is to say that our work does not really suggest that time exists 2 years from now and it's merely a question of us catching up with it, so to speak. We all know that we cannot go back into the past, that anything that is not of this moment which is to say has already occurred and cannot be revisited except in the form of memory. That is probably the condition that exists within the future as well, which is to say that those things that have not occurred, will not occur, cannot occur. So, for instance, you might find these supposed whistleblowers who are discussing the concepts of this timeline versus that timeline versus some other timeline. And that gives an impression to the human mind, especially the monkey mind that likes all the numbers and to do projection, that these are independent streams that could converge on the point that we call now, and that at some instance or nudge by universe, one stream or the other might become the path down which we go. I do not find this understanding to be my own, and I don't know that it is particularly workable given the reality that the universal consciousness exists in a form of continuous creation. That is to say, atoms do not exist. There is no little tiny rock swinging around another little rock that we call electrons and protons. That is an illusion. Electrons do not spin around neutrons. The protonic mass does not exist. They only exist when we attempt to measure them, and we have made certain assumptions on this that are erroneous. So we must look at universe as originating from a series of pulses to create standing waves that interfere with each other in vast levels of complexity that we call the aggregate tori, which is to say all of the toruses that exist within us. If we were to look at it in a particular way, every single one of our atoms, rather than being mass per se, whirling around in space, could be thought of as a little miniature torus. And then you have billions of such atoms within your, in fact, trillions upon trillions of such atoms within the various cells that form you as a human, and you are a larger aggregate of a giant accumulation of small toruses, or tori. And so, but in a larger sense, as they fractalize through you and form your body from the giant consciousness field, you become a larger tori. That torus experiences time as a progression of events within the mind that is associated with the body. But that does not mean that those events pre-exist or post-exist. It is an illusion, as has been stated repeatedly throughout history, and one should not necessarily think of the time as a stream because it causes certain assumptions to arise that are not true. And these can cause you to think in certain ways and act in certain ways that are not necessarily in your interest. For instance, the people that are saying that this timeline exists and, oh, well, something will occur and we got onto this other timeline and there's no pole shift. They have no basis in reality for stating such. Time only exists at the level of the giant template of universal consciousness that creates such things as space, Earth, Sun, universe,